The morning sun cast long shadows across the wheat fields of Kansas as Commander Han Wu stepped out of his small farmhouse. To any observer, he looked like a simple farmer checking his crops. The truth was far different. Beneath his feet, 300 meters underground, lay one of Earth's most advanced military command centers. Han Wu touched the small device in his pocket. A soft blue light confirmed what he already suspected. Today would be different. Today the galaxy would test humanity's resolve. Dr. Park Mina was already awake in her laboratory complex hidden beneath the Sierra Nevada mountains. Her morning coffee grew cold as she reviewed the data streaming across her screens. The sensors scattered throughout the outer solar system had detected something troubling. Ships. Many ships. All heading toward Earth. "Computer, show me the fleet composition," she said quietly. The holographic display filled with red dots. Each dot represented a warship larger than anything Earth had ever publicly acknowledged building. Park Mina counted them twice. 300 vessels. This was not a diplomatic mission. She reached for her communication device and sent a coded message. Within minutes, similar messages traveled to hidden facilities across Earth and throughout the solar system. The message was simple, but carried enormous weight. Protocol Ember is now active. Ambassador Li Jun was attending a routine meeting at the Galactic Consortium headquarters on Kepler Station. When his personal communicator buzzed, the message made his blood run cold. He had hoped this day would never come, but Earth had prepared for it nonetheless. "Honored colleagues," Li Jun said, standing slowly in the great assembly hall, "I must request an emergency session. Earth has received what appears to be an ultimatum." The various alien species that made up the consortium turned their attention to the human representative. Most looked curious rather than concerned. Earth was known as a peaceful world. What kind of ultimatum could they possibly receive? The answer came from the consortium's communication center. A message had been broadcast on all military frequencies, intended for Earth's government, but intercepted by consortium monitoring stations. The voice that spoke was harsh and filled with authority. It belonged to War Commander Krelvex of the Vorthak Empire, weak children of the third planet. The message began. "Your species has lived in peace for too long. The Vorthak Empire claims your world and all its resources. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance is futile. Your primitive weapons and peaceful nature make victory impossible for you." The assembly hall fell silent. The Vorthak were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations. Their military was considered among the most powerful in known space. Li Jun stood calmly at his podium. Inside, his heart was racing, but his face showed no emotion. "Honored friends, I must return to Earth immediately to consult with my government. We will need time to consider our response." Several alien representatives offered their condolences. A few mentioned that Earth had been a valuable member of the consortium and would be missed. None offered military assistance. The Vorthak were too powerful and Earth was too weak. What they did not know was that Earth had been preparing for this moment for nearly 2 centuries. Captain Kim Sola was running her morning patrol in what appeared to be an outdated fighter craft. The ship looked like it belonged in a museum, with basic weapons and minimal shielding. Other pilots often joked that Earth's military technology was centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. If only they knew the truth. Kim Sola's fighter was equipped with stealth systems that could hide it from any known sensor array. Its weapons, though they appeared primitive, could punch through the armor of ships 10 times its size. And its pilot had trained in combat scenarios that would terrify veteran warriors from across the galaxy. "Control, this is Falcon 1, Kim." Sola spoke into her communicator. "Beginning extended patrol pattern. Copy, Falcon 1, stay sharp out there." Kim Sola knew that her extended patrol was actually a reconnaissance mission. Earth sensors had been tracking the approaching Vorthak fleet for days. Her job was to get close enough to gather detailed intelligence without being detected. As she flew toward the outer edge of the solar system, Kim Sola thought about her childhood. She had grown up on stories of ancient Earth wars. when humans fought each other with primitive weapons. Those stories always ended the same way. The side that underestimated their enemy usually lost. The Vorthak were about to learn this lesson the hard way. General Choi Dae was in his office beneath the Rocky Mountains when the final confirmation arrived. The Vorthak fleet had entered the outer solar system. 300 ships, just as intelligence had predicted. The largest invasion fleet ever sent against a single world. Choi Dae had been preparing for this moment his entire career. He had studied every military conflict in galactic history. He knew the Vorthak tactics, their weapons, their weaknesses. More importantly, he knew Earth's true capabilities. He activated his secure communication system and connected to command centers across Earth and throughout the solar system. All stations, this is Command 1. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Begin Phase 1 preparations immediately. Across the galaxy, most species believed that Earth was a simple agricultural world with minimal defenses. This belief was carefully maintained through decades of diplomatic misdirection and strategic deception. The truth was far different. Earth's agricultural installations were some of the most advanced manufacturing facilities in known space. The communication satellites orbiting the planet were actually weapons platforms capable of destroying capital ships. The mining operations in the asteroid belt were military bases disguised as civilian infrastructure. Even Earth's apparent pacifism was part of the deception. Humans were not naturally peaceful. They had simply learned that appearing weak while building strength was often more effective than displaying power openly. Dr. Park Mina was now in the primary control room of Project Prometheus. The room was buried so deep underground that even the most powerful sensors could not detect it. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at stations that controlled Earth's most closely guarded secret. For 20 years, Earth scientists had been working on a project that sounded like science fiction. They had learned to harness the power of stars themselves, not just Earth's sun, but any star within 100 light-years of the solar system. The technology was based on gravitational field manipulation combined with controlled electromagnetic resonance. In simple terms, they could make stars behave like weapons. A directed solar flare could destroy entire fleets. A carefully tuned electromagnetic pulse could disable ships across multiple star systems. The Vorthak had no idea what they were flying into. Ambassador Lee Jun's ship was racing back to Earth at maximum speed. He had spent the journey preparing his report for Earth's leadership. The Galactic Consortium had made their position clear. They would not interfere in the conflict. Earth would face the Vorthak alone. This was exactly what Earth had expected. As his ship approached Earth's solar system, Lee Jun could see signs of the massive deception that had fooled the galaxy for so long. What appeared to be simple cargo, ships were actually military transports moving personnel to hidden battle stations. The research stations orbiting Jupiter were bristling with weapons that had never appeared on any official inventory. Most impressive was Luna, Earth's moon. For decades, it had appeared to be a modest research facility, with a small population of scientists. In reality, it housed the largest military shipyard in human space, hidden beneath artificial craters and camouflaged installations. Commander Han Wu received the final intelligence reports as he descended into his underground command center. The Vorthak fleet was impressive by galactic standards. Their ships were large, well-armed, and crewed by experienced warriors. Against any other world, they would be unstoppable. Against Earth, they had made a fatal mistake. They had believed the deception. Earth's actual military consisted of over 2,000 combat vessels hidden throughout the solar system. The planet's defenses included orbital weapons platforms that could engage targets at ranges previously thought impossible. Ground-based installations could launch projectiles at significant fractions of light speed, turning asteroids into devastating weapons. But Earth's greatest advantage was not technological. It was psychological. The Vorthak expected to face a primitive, frightened enemy. Instead, they would encounter a military force that had been preparing for this exact scenario for generations. Han Wu looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. In 18 hours, they would enter Earth's inner solar system. In 20 hours, they would learn the truth about humanity. He opened a communication channel to all Earth forces. All stations, this is Command Alpha. The enemy is approaching. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. We protect not just our world, but the peace of the entire galaxy. Across the solar system, millions of humans prepared for battle. They were farmers and teachers, engineers and artists, parents and children. They had built a peaceful civilization, but they had never forgotten how to defend it. The Vorthak fleet continued its approach, confident in their superior firepower and certain of an easy victory. War Commander Krell Vex was already planning. The Vorthak fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, like a dark storm cloud blotting out the stars. 300 warships, each one larger than a city, hung in space with their weapons already charging. War Commander Krell Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the primitive solar system before him. Sensors report minimal activity, his tactical officer announced. A few small ships near the outer planets, some communication satellites around the third world. No significant military presence detected. Krell Vex nodded with satisfaction. His intelligence reports had been accurate. This would be the easiest conquest in Vorthak history. Captain Kim Sola was already in position, her fighter hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons. Her stealth systems made her invisible to Vorthak sensors, and she had a perfect view of the massive fleet. She began transmitting detailed scans back to Earth Command. "This is Falcon 1, she whispered into her communicator. Target count confirmed, at 300 vessels. Flagship is a Vorthak destroyer class approximately 8 kilometers long. They're not even bothering with battle formation. They think this is going to be easy." Back on Earth, Commander Han Wu studied the incoming data in his underground command center. The Vorthak ships were impressive, but they were arranged for intimidation rather than combat efficiency. Their formations were loose, their spacing poor. They were prepared for a victory parade, not a real battle. "All stations maintain current protocols," Han Wu transmitted to Earth's hidden forces. "Let them see what they expect to see. Our farmers, our peaceful satellites, our simple way of life. Nothing more." Dr. Park Mina was monitoring the situation from her mountain laboratory. The Prometheus system was fully charged and ready, but it would not be needed yet. Earth's strategy required patience. Let the enemy commit fully before revealing their hand. On the surface, Earth appeared to be in panic. News broadcasts showed frightened civilians and government officials calling for calm. Emergency sessions of world leaders were being held. Everything looked exactly as the Vorthak expected. What they could not see were the millions of people calmly moving to their assigned positions in underground shelters that were actually military command posts. They could not detect the weapon systems coming online beneath seemingly innocent farmland. They had no idea that Earth's moon was preparing to launch the largest fighter squadron in galactic history. War Commander Krell Vex transmitted his demands directly to Earth's government. His message was broadcast openly, intended to terrorize the human population into immediate surrender. "Primitive humans," his voice boomed across all communication frequencies. "Your time of peace has ended. The Vorthak Empire claims this system and all its resources. You have 48 hours to surrender all military assets and submit to our rule. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization." Ambassador Li Jun was now back on Earth, in the planetary capital's communication center. He prepared Earth's official response with careful attention to every word. The message needed to sound desperate while buying precious time for final preparations. "Honored War Commander," Li Jun's reply began, his voice shaking with what appeared to be fear. "Our world is peaceful. We have no significant military forces. Surely there must be some way to resolve this without violence. We request additional time to consider your terms." Krell Vex smiled as he listened to the human's pathetic plea. "You have 48 hours, not 1 second more. Use them to prepare your surrender ceremonies." What the Vorthak commander did not realize was that his 48-hour ultimatum was exactly the amount of time Earth needed to complete its preparations. General Choi Dae was coordinating the largest military mobilization In human history, all of it hidden from enemy sensors. Across the solar system, installations that had appeared to be civilian research stations for decades were revealing their true nature. The asteroid belt mining facility designated Ceres Station opened massive hangar doors that had been disguised as mining shafts. Inside were 50 heavy cruisers, each armed with weapons that could destroy a Vorthak battleship in a single volley. Mars Base, supposedly a small scientific outpost, began launching what appeared to be research probes. In reality, each probe was a stealth missile capable of tracking targets across the entire solar system. Even Earth's orbital elevators, the pride of human engineering that lifted cargo peacefully from the planet's surface, were part of the HFY deception. Each elevator platform could be converted into a weapons platform in minutes. Their cables, stronger than any known material, could be used to launch projectiles at velocities that would make them devastating weapons. Captain Kim Sola continued her reconnaissance mission, moving carefully between the outer planets to get detailed scans of each Vorthak vessel. Her fighters' advanced sensors could penetrate their hull armor and identify weak points that would be crucial in the coming battle. Command, this is Falcon 1. I'm reading some interesting energy signatures from their engines. It looks like they're using quantum jump drives, but they're running them hot. If we can disrupt their quantum fields, we could trap them in normal space. Copy that, Falcon 1. Continue monitoring and stay hidden. Dr. Park Mina was fine-tuning the Prometheus system's targeting parameters. The solar weapon required precise calculations to ensure the directed energy would hit its targets without causing collateral damage to Earth's own forces. She thought about the irony of the situation. The Vorthak had chosen to attack Earth because they believed it was defenseless. In reality, they had picked a fight with the one civilization in the galaxy that could harness the power of stars themselves. System check complete, she announced to her team. We can deliver a Class 5 solar flare anywhere within the inner solar system, with an accuracy of 50 meters. The Vorthak won't know what hit them. Meanwhile, the deception continued on Earth's surface. News broadcasts showed panicked civilians fleeing cities. World leaders gave speeches about the importance of peace and their desperate hope for a diplomatic solution. Everything the Vorthak expected to see from a primitive, frightened civilization. Hidden beneath the surface drama, Earth's true response was taking shape. Every major city had underground military command centers. Every farm concealed weapons that could engage spacecraft in orbit. Every citizen knew their role in the defense plan that had been practiced for decades. War Commander Krell Vex reviewed the intelligence reports from his scouts. Earth's defenses appeared even weaker than expected. A few outdated fighter craft, some civilian orbital platforms, communication satellites that could barely manage basic data transmission. This is almost insulting, he told his officers. We brought 300 ships to destroy a civilization that couldn't resist 3 ships. Begin approach to the inner system. We'll end this quickly and move on to more worthy conquests. The Vorthak fleet began moving toward Earth, their formation casual and overconfident. They were expecting to fight civilians and farmers, not one of the most advanced military forces in the galaxy. Commander Han Wu watched the enemy's approach with grim satisfaction. The Vorthak were making every mistake Earth had hoped they would make. They were bunched together, moving predictably and completely unaware of the trap they were entering. All stations, this is Command Alpha. Enemy fleet is beginning final approach. Phase 2 will begin in 18 hours. Remember, complete surprise is essential. No one reveals our true capabilities until I give the word. Captain Kim Sola had been flying reconnaissance for 36 hours, surviving on military rations and pure determination. Her fighters' stealth systems were working perfectly, but she was getting dangerously close to the enemy formation. As she maneuvered between 2 Vorthak battleships, she noticed something important. Their shields were configured for attack, not defense. They were preparing to bombard a planet, not fight a space battle. This oversight would cost them dearly. Command, the enemy shields are optimized for planetary bombardment. They're vulnerable to attacks from above and below their formation. If we hit them from multiple angles simultaneously, we can punch through their defenses. Excellent work, Falcon 1. RTB and prepare for combat operations. Dr. Park Mina received the final clearance to begin charging the Prometheus weapon system. The process would take 12 hours and would draw power from across the entire solar system. Once begun, there would be no hiding Earth's true technological capabilities. She initiated the startup sequence and watched as energy began flowing from fusion reactors hidden on a dozen different worlds. Solar collectors disguised as research installations began focusing their output. Even Earth's moon contributed power from geothermal taps that had been secretly drilled into its core. The Vorthak fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were flying directly into the crosshairs of a weapon that could control stars. General Choi Dae made his final preparations. In 8 hours, the Vorthak would enter Earth's inner defensive perimeter. At that moment, the largest space battle in galactic history would begin. He thought about the peaceful civilization Earth had built over the past 2 centuries. Every school, every hospital, every park had been protected by the knowledge that, if peace failed, humanity was ready for war. The Vorthak had made their choice. They had chosen to. The Vorthak fleet crossed into Earth's inner solar system with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. War Commander Krell Vex stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the tactical display as his 300 ships spread out in attack formation. The blue planet ahead showed no signs of significant military activity. "Begin final approach," he ordered. "Target their major cities first. Once we demonstrate our power, they will surrender quickly." What Krell Vex could not see was that his fleet had just crossed an invisible line in space. They had entered Earth's true defensive perimeter, and humanity was about to drop its carefully maintained disguise. Commander Han Wu was deep underground in his command center, surrounded by displays showing every ship in the Vorthak fleet. He had been waiting for this moment for 37 years, ever since he first learned about Earth's great deception. "All stations, this is Command Alpha. The enemy has entered the kill zone. Execute Operation Sleeping Giant. Show them what Earth really is." Across the solar system, the transformation began. On Mars, what had appeared to be a small scientific research station suddenly revealed itself as something entirely different. Massive sections of the planet's surface slid away like opening doors. From beneath emerged a military shipyard larger than most cities, filled with ships that officially did not exist. Captain Kim Sola was in the lead fighter of the first squadron to launch from Mars base. Her ship was no longer disguised as an outdated patrol craft. Now it showed its true form, a stealth interceptor armed with weapons that could destroy vessels 100 times its size. "Mars Wing, this is Falcon 1. All birds are in the air. Time to show these invaders what a real space force looks like." Behind her, 499 other fighters launched from hidden bays across the Martian surface. Each one was equipped with technology decades ahead of anything the Vorthak had ever encountered. The asteroid belt, which had appeared to be a collection of simple mining operations, came alive with hostile intent. What the Vorthak had assumed were cargo haulers and mining equipment were actually combat vessels that had been waiting in perfect camouflage for years. The installation at Ceres alone launched 50 heavy cruisers, each one armed with plasma cannons that could punch through the thickest armor. Smaller asteroids opened up to reveal missile platforms, fighter bases, and sensor arrays that had been monitoring the Vorthak fleet since they entered the solar system. But the most shocking transformation occurred around Earth's moon. Luna had been carefully disguised as a modest research facility with perhaps 10,000 inhabitants. As the Vorthak watched in growing alarm, the entire lunar surface began to change. Artificial craters slid open to reveal massive construction bays. Underground facilities that stretched for hundreds of kilometers suddenly became visible as their camouflage systems shut down. What emerged from Luna was the largest space fleet ever assembled by any single world. Dr. Park Mina watched from her mountain laboratory as Earth's orbital platforms revealed their true nature. The communication satellites that had been orbiting the planet for decades suddenly bristled with weapons that had been hidden inside their innocent-looking shells. "Prometheus Control, all orbital platforms are armed and ready. We have clear firing solutions on the entire enemy fleet." Each platform was equipped with particle beam weapons that could slice through the hull of a Vorthak battleship like a knife through paper. There were over 200 platforms, and they had been positioned to create overlapping fields of fire that would trap the enemy fleet in a deadly crossfire. War Commander Krell Vex stared at his tactical display in horror. In the space of minutes, his sensors had gone from detecting a few primitive defensive installations to tracking over 2,000 combat vessels. The peaceful agricultural world he had come to conquer had revealed itself as the most heavily armed planet in galactic history. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence reports showed no significant military presence." His tactical officer's voice shook as he replied, "Sir, it appears their entire civilization was a deception. Every installation we identified as civilian was actually military. They've been hiding their true capabilities for decades. The first attacks came from unexpected directions. Earth's orbital elevators, those marvels of peaceful engineering, suddenly became weapons platforms. Using their incredibly strong cables as guides, they launched projectiles at velocities approaching light speed. These kinetic weapons struck the Vorthak formation before anyone even realized they were under attack. 3 Vorthak destroyers simply disappeared, vaporized by impacts that released more energy than nuclear weapons. The beautiful orbital elevators that had been symbols of human achievement revealed themselves as the most devastating artillery pieces ever built. Captain Kim Sola led her squadron in the first manned attack on the Vorthak fleet. Her fighters moved through space like deadly dancers, their stealth systems making them nearly invisible until they opened fire. "All wings, this is Falcon 1. Target their command ships first. Let's cut off the head of this snake." The Vorthak had never encountered fighters like these. Earth's pilots flew with a combination of advanced technology and human instinct that made them incredibly dangerous opponents. Their ships could accelerate at rates that would crush most alien species, and their weapons could track targets with perfect accuracy even during high-speed combat maneuvers. Commander Han Wu coordinated the battle from his underground fortress, his tactical displays showing the complete destruction of Vorthak formations across the solar system. Earth's forces were attacking from every direction simultaneously, using the 3-dimensional nature of space combat to maximum advantage. Strike Force Alpha, concentrate fire on their flagship. Strike Force Beta, hit their supply vessels. Remember, we want survivors who can tell their people what happens when you threaten Earth. The Vorthak fleet tried to respond, but they were trapped in a carefully planned killing field. Every time they turned to engage one group of human ships, they exposed themselves to attacks from other directions. Their formation, designed for intimidation rather than combat, became a liability as Earth's forces picked them apart piece by piece. General Choi Dae monitored the battle from his command center, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction that Earth's long preparation was paying off. Sadness that it had come to this at all. Communications broadcast this message on all Vorthak frequencies. "This is Earth Defense Command. Your fleet is surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and your surviving personnel will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting and we will destroy every ship in your formation." Dr. Park Mina had been holding the Prometheus weapon in reserve, but it was becoming clear that it might not be needed. Earth's conventional forces were dismantling the Vorthak fleet with terrifying efficiency. Still, she kept the solar weapon charged and ready. If the Vorthak had any surprises left, humanity would respond with the power of their star itself. War Commander Krell Vex watched his fleet being destroyed around him. In 2 hours of fighting, he had lost over 100 ships. His remaining vessels were trapped in a formation that left them vulnerable from every angle. Worse than the military defeat was the psychological impact. The Vorthak had built their empire on the fear they inspired in other species. Now they were being humiliated by a civilization they had dismissed as primitive farmers and artists. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 of our ships," his communications officer reported. "Captain Jel Moore is requesting permission to abandon ship. The cruiser-destroyer's Wrath has lost all power and is drifting toward the human moon." Krell Vex realized that his invasion had become a disaster. But Vorthak pride would not let him simply surrender. If he was going to be defeated, he would make the humans pay a price for their victory. "All ships prepare for ramming speed. We'll take as many of them with us as we can." This was exactly what Commander Han Wu had expected. The Vorthak were predictable in their desperation. He activated a contingency plan that had been prepared for this exact situation. All units, execute Pattern 7. Disable their engines, but preserve their life support. We're not murderers, and we want witnesses to spread the word about what happens when you attack Earth. Captain Kim Sola's squadron began precision strikes on Vorthak engine systems. Using weapons designed for surgical accuracy, they crippled enemy ships without destroying them entirely. It was far more difficult than simply blowing them up, but it sent a clear message about human capabilities and intentions. The battle began to wind down as more Vorthak ships either surrendered or were disabled. The massive fleet that had entered Earth's solar system with such confidence was now scattered and broken. Dr. Park Mina finally powered down the Prometheus system. The weapon had not been needed, but its presence had served its purpose. Every alien government monitoring the battle now knew that Earth possessed technology that could weaponize stars themselves. General Choi Dae surveyed the aftermath. Earth had won a complete victory while suffering minimal casualties. More importantly, they had done it in a way that demonstrated both their military strength and their moral principles. War Commander Krell Vex sat in his damaged command chair, surrounded by the wreckage of his. The battle was nearly over, but Earth had one more demonstration to deliver. Dr. Park Mina stood in the control room of Project Prometheus, her hands moving across controls that could harness the power of stars themselves. The Vorthak fleet was broken, but the galaxy was watching. It was time to show every potential aggressor exactly what Earth was capable of. Command, this is Prometheus Control. We have a clear firing solution on the remaining Vorthak battle group. Request permission to demonstrate solar weapon capabilities. Commander Han Wu considered the request from his underground command center. The tactical situation no longer required such overwhelming firepower, but the psychological impact would resonate throughout the galaxy for generations. Permission granted, Dr. Park. Give them a show they'll never forget. War Commander Krell Vex was trying to organize the surrender of his remaining ships when his sensors detected something impossible. Energy readings were spiking throughout the inner solar system, but the source appeared to be the star itself. Tactical, what are you reading from the human sun? He demanded. His officer's voice trembled as he replied. Sir, something is happening to the stellar corona. Energy levels are increasing beyond anything in our database. It's like the star is being artificially excited. Dr. Park Mina activated the Prometheus array. Around Earth's orbit, 200 hidden satellites began working in perfect coordination. Each one projected a gravitational field that could manipulate matter at the subatomic level. Together, they formed a lens capable of focusing stellar energy with pinpoint accuracy. The process had taken 20 years to develop and another 15 to build. Earth scientists had learned to reach across millions of kilometers of space and touch the heart of their star. They could make the sun itself into a weapon. Initiating stellar manipulation sequence, Dr. Park announced to her team. Target: Vorthak Battle Group 7, coordinates Mark 47 Alpha, preparing controlled solar flare. The sun began to change. Its surface rippled with unnatural patterns as Earth's gravitational field stimulated specific regions of the stellar corona. Magnetic field lines that had been stable for centuries suddenly twisted into new configurations. Captain Kim Sola was refueling her fighter at Luna Base when she saw the first signs of what was happening. The space around her fighter began to glow with a soft golden light that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Control, this is Falcon 1. I'm seeing some kind of energy buildup. It looks like the sun is getting brighter. Copy, Falcon 1. Move to safe distance immediately. Prometheus is about to fire. Throughout the solar system, Earth's forces received warnings to protect themselves from what was coming. Ships activated radiation shields. Space stations sealed their hulls. Everyone who could took shelter behind planets or moons. The Vorthak fleet had no such warning. A tongue of fire erupted from the sun's surface, reaching across 40 million kilometers of space in seconds. But this was not a natural solar flare. It was a directed beam of stellar plasma, guided by Earth's gravitational manipulation fields with the precision of a surgeon's laser. The energy beam struck the center of the remaining Vorthak battle formation with the force of 1,000 nuclear weapons. Ships that had survived the earlier battle simply vanished, their matter converted to energy in an instant. The electromagnetic pulse that followed disabled electronics throughout the enemy fleet. War Commander Krell Vex watched in absolute terror, as a weapon beyond his understanding destroyed his last hope of salvaging anything from this disaster. The humans had not just defeated his fleet, they had demonstrated the ability to weaponize stars themselves. Communications, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Send a message to Vorthak Command. Tell them we have encountered a species that can control the power of suns. Tell them never to come here again. Dr. Park Mina monitored the aftermath of the solar strike from her control room. The directed flare had been perfectly controlled, striking only the intended targets without causing any damage to Earth's own forces or the Vorthak ships that had already surrendered. Prometheus control to all stations. Solar weapon test successful. All parameters within acceptable limits. No collateral damage detected. The demonstration was over, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for decades. Every species that had been monitoring the battle now understood that Earth possessed technology that made traditional space warfare obsolete. General Choi Day reviewed the final battle reports with satisfaction. Earth had achieved complete victory, while minimizing casualties on both sides. More importantly, they had revealed their true capabilities in a way that would deter future aggressors for generations. Send a message to all galactic governments, he ordered. Earth's defensive capabilities are now a matter of public record. We have no interest in conquest, but we will defend our peace with whatever force is necessary. Commander Han Wu began the delicate process of dealing with the aftermath of victory. Thousands of Vorthak survivors needed medical attention. Their ships required secure containment. The galaxy needed to understand what had just happened. Medical teams, begin treating wounded Vorthak personnel. Engineering crews, secure all enemy vessels. Intelligence teams, prepare for prisoner interviews. Remember, these beings tried to destroy our world, but they are now our responsibility. Ambassador Li Jun was already preparing to return to the Galactic Consortium with news of Earth's victory. His message would be simple but profound. Humanity had been hiding its true strength for centuries, but that era of deception was now over. The political implications were staggering. Earth would no longer be seen as a weak agricultural world. They would be recognized as one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. The balance of power had shifted overnight. Captain Kim Sola docked her fighter and walked through Luna Base, observing the massive military installation that had been hidden beneath the moon's surface for decades. Now that the secret was out, she wondered how the galaxy would react to the revelation that humans had been planning for war while preaching peace. We never wanted this, she said to herself. We just wanted to be left alone to build something better. Dr. Park Mina began the shutdown sequence for the Prometheus weapon system. The demonstration was over, and she hoped it would never need to be used again. The ability to weaponize stars was a terrible responsibility, one that humanity had accepted reluctantly. She thought about the 20-year project that had led to this moment. Hundreds of scientists working in secret, knowing that they were creating something that could change the nature of warfare forever. They had done it not because they loved destruction, but because they loved peace enough to defend it. War Commander Krell Vex was transferred to an Earth medical facility where his wounds were treated with the same care given to human patients. He spent his recovery time trying to understand how his intelligence had been so completely wrong. How long? He asked the human doctor treating his injuries. How long have you been hiding your true strength? The doctor, a woman named Dr. Song, Hana considered the question carefully before answering. We have been preparing for this day since we first encountered alien civilizations. We hoped it would never come, but we were ready when it did. Throughout the Vorthak Empire, news of the defeat spread like wildfire. The species that had built their reputation on military conquest had been humiliated by farmers and artists. Entire sectors that had been preparing for their own invasions of weak worlds suddenly canceled their plans. The psychological impact was even greater than the military defeat. If the peaceful humans could hide such devastating military capabilities, what other secrets might other weak species be concealing? Commander Han Wu addressed Earth's population in a broadcast that was also transmitted throughout the galaxy. His words were measured and calm, befitting a leader who had just overseen the most significant military victory in recent galactic history. People of Earth and peoples of the galaxy, he began. Today we defended our world against those who would destroy our way of life. We revealed capabilities that we had hoped never to use. But let our message be clear. We are not conquerors. We are gardeners. We tend the peace we have built, and we will defend it against all who would destroy it. The message resonated throughout human space and beyond. Earth had demonstrated that a commitment to peace did not require weakness. Instead, true peace might require the strength to defend it when threatened. Dr. Park Mina looked up at the sky from her mountain laboratory, watching the sun that had become humanity's ultimate weapon. She made a silent promise that the Prometheus system would be used only in defense of peace, never for conquest or aggression. The galaxy now knew Earth's secret. Humanity had spent centuries appearing weak while building strength, preaching peace, while preparing for war. They had done it not from deception but from wisdom. They understood that sometimes the greatest mercy was the ability to show none at all. As news of Earth's victory spread to the furthest corners of known space, three things became clear to every intelligent species. Humans were far more advanced than anyone had suspected. They were absolutely committed to defending their peaceful way of life, and they possessed weapons that made traditional warfare obsolete. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The age. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy looked very different. Ambassador Li Jun stood before the assembled delegates of the Galactic Consortium, no longer representing a small agricultural world, but speaking for one of the most powerful civilizations in known space. The great assembly hall buzzed with nervous conversation as representatives from hundreds of species waited to hear Earth's plans for the future. Many feared that humanity would follow the typical pattern of newly revealed superpowers: expansion, conquest, and domination. They were about to be surprised again. "Honored delegates," Li Jun began, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needed to hide his civilization's true capabilities. "Earth stands before you today not as conquerors but as gardeners. We have tended the garden of peace for centuries, and we invite you to help us cultivate it throughout the galaxy." The reaction was immediate and profound. Species that had been preparing for human aggression found themselves invited to join something unprecedented, a truly peaceful expansion of civilization. Commander Han Wu was back on Earth, overseeing the transformation of humanity's military from a hidden defensive force into something entirely new. The weapons that had been designed to protect Earth were being converted into tools of creation and exploration. "General Choi, begin Phase 1 of Operation New Garden," Han Wu ordered from his command center, which was no longer underground but proudly visible on Earth's surface. "It's time to show the galaxy what we can build when we're not hiding." Dr. Park Mina stood in the control room of what had once been Project Prometheus, but was now called the Stellar Engineering Initiative. The same technology that had turned the sun into a weapon was being used for an entirely different purpose. "Initiating controlled stellar enhancement of the Kepler 442 system," she announced to her team. "We're going to turn a dying red dwarf into a stable yellow star. 3 dead worlds will become garden planets within a decade." The process was miraculous to observe. Earth's gravitational manipulation technology reached across hundreds of light years to touch distant stars. Instead of creating destructive flares, they were increasing stellar output, extending star life, and creating conditions suitable for life on previously barren worlds. Captain Kim Sola was no longer flying combat patrols. Instead, she led exploration, squadrons to worlds that had been written off as uninhabitable. With Earth's advanced terraforming technology, planets that had been considered worthless were becoming new homes for species whose worlds had been damaged by war or natural disasters. "This is Falcon 1 to Terra Command," she transmitted from the bridge of her new exploration vessel. "We've completed the atmospheric processors on New Haven, The Yulian refugees should be able to begin settlement within 6 months. The Yulian species had lost their homeworld to a supernova 3 centuries ago and had been living on overcrowded colony ships ever since. Earth's offer to create a new world for them had been met with disbelief, then overwhelming gratitude. War Commander Krell Vex, former leader of the defeated Vorthak fleet, was now working as a military advisor to Earth's Galactic Defense Initiative. His intimate knowledge of aggressive species throughout the galaxy made him invaluable in identifying potential threats before they could develop. "Commander Han," he said during one of their regular briefings, "the hegemony states are showing signs of military buildup in Sector 7. It appears they haven't learned the lesson that my people learned the hard way." Han Wu studied the intelligence reports with concern. Even after Earth's demonstration of power, some species still believed they could succeed where the Vorthak had failed. "Recommendations?" Han Wu asked. Krell Vex had spent months studying human tactics and philosophy. His answer reflected how much he had learned about the difference between conquest and true strength. "Send them a gift," he suggested. "One of the dead worlds in their territory. Use your stellar engineering to bring it to life. Show them what Earth offers to friends compared to what happens to enemies." General Choi Day was implementing the most ambitious military restructuring in galactic history. Earth's armed forces were being transformed from a defensive organization into something that had never existed before. A military dedicated entirely to protecting peace rather than projecting power. "All sector commanders," he announced during a galaxy-wide briefing, "our mission has evolved. We are no longer hidden defenders of one world. We are the guardians of peace for any species that chooses cooperation over conquest." The new Earth Defense Force established bases throughout the galaxy, but not for conquest or control. Each installation was designed to support peaceful development, scientific research, and mutual defense against aggressive species. Dr. Park. Mina's stellar engineering projects were transforming entire sectors of space. Dead systems were brought to life. Dying stars were rejuvenated. Worlds that had been scarred by ancient wars were healed and made habitable again. "We have requests for stellar enhancement from 47 different species," she reported to Earth's Leadership Council. "At current production rates, we can fulfill all requests within 15 years. The galaxy is literally becoming a garden." Ambassador Li Jun found himself in the unprecedented position of being elected as the new Prime Minister of the Galactic Consortium. His campaign had been simple: peace through strength, prosperity through cooperation. His first act as Prime Minister was to establish the Galactic Peace Corps, an organization that would spread throughout the galaxy doing what Earth had done in its own solar system, appearing peaceful while maintaining the strength to defend that peace. Captain Kim, Sola's exploration fleets had made contact with over 30 species that had been previously unknown to galactic civilization. Instead of the usual pattern of contact leading to conflict, these encounters resulted in immediate offers of friendship, technology sharing, and mutual support. "Terra Command, this is Falcon 1, she reported from a distant star system. "We've made contact with the Valerian Collective. They've been hiding from galactic civilization for centuries because they feared conquest. When I showed them recordings of the Battle of Earth, they asked if they could join our alliance immediately. The transformation was not without its challenges. Some species found it difficult to accept that humanity's intentions were genuinely peaceful. Others struggled to understand how such advanced military technology could be used for creation rather than destruction." Commander Han Wu addressed these concerns during a broadcast that reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. "To those who doubt our intentions, we offer proof through our actions. Every weapon we revealed has been converted to a tool of creation. Every military base we established serves to protect the peaceful development of all species. We judge civilizations not by their strength, but by how they choose to use that strength. The Vorthak Empire, humbled by their defeat but not destroyed, became humanity's most dedicated students in the art of conversion. Under Krell Vex's leadership, they began transforming their military-industrial complex into a force for construction and exploration. My people spent centuries believing that strength meant the ability to destroy, Krell Vex explained during a diplomatic ceremony. Earth has taught us that true strength is the ability to create, to protect, and to nurture life throughout the galaxy. Dr. Park Mina stood in her laboratory, looking at a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Green dots represented worlds that had been enhanced or created through Earth's stellar engineering. Blue dots showed species that had joined the peaceful alliance. Red dots representing active threats were becoming increasingly rare. "Computer, show me the progression over the past 6 months," she requested. The display shifted to show the dramatic changes. Hundreds of worlds had been transformed from barren rock to thriving planets. Dozens of species had abandoned military aggression in favor of cooperative development. The galaxy was literally becoming more alive. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, the transformation was complete. The galaxy enjoyed its longest period of peace in recorded history. Wars that had raged for centuries had been ended not through conquest, but through the simple expedient of giving everyone involved something better to do. General Choi Dae, now in his 70s, walked through the memorial garden that had been built at the site of his former underground command center. The garden contained plants from every world that had been saved or created through Earth's intervention. He paused at a tree that had been grown from seeds provided by the Vorthak. Even humanity's former enemies had contributed to the Garden of Galactic Peace. Captain Kim Sola, now an admiral, commanded exploration fleets that pushed the boundaries of known space, but instead of seeking new worlds to conquer, they searched for new opportunities to create life and spread the garden of civilization to previously empty regions of the galaxy. "This is Admiral Kim to all exploration commands," she transmitted from her flagship. "We have discovered a cluster of systems with perfect conditions for life, but no planets. Begin terraforming operations immediately. Let's give the galaxy a few more gardens." Commander Han Wu, in his final years of active service, often reflected on the path that had brought humanity to this point. They had prepared for war while hoping for peace. When forced,